Hello, everybody. We're going to start this. The Rebbe says you're supposed to, many times the Sikha says, Poskim b'bracha. You're supposed to open up with a bracha. And since my friend brought me some Danishes from Schwartz's Bakery, we're going to open up with a bracha. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei minei mazonos. Maybe tomorrow we'll open up with a shawarma, who knows? Anyways, but Yadaber, okay. So we're in Ki Sisa, and we're talking about the whole idea about how everything is made from three levels. And beginning, the middle, and the end, and that there's always like one body, everything is equal. And even though we discussed at the beginning is how Hashem was before the worlds, and then the middle is working in the world, and that's when you have the negativity and you can come and do a sin. But really the whole reason for that is to get to Geulah. So he says even what appears to be negative, it's really not negative, it's all part of good. So, now we're on page 160 in Dvar Malchus, the royal words, and this is number 9. And more in general, we may say that these three aspects are also alluded to the Torah portion Ki Sisa, or Ki Tisa, if you said Sfard, in general, from the beginning to the end. So remember we said before that the whole creation of the world, from before the creation, God created the world, to the creation of the world, to the final Geulah, the Geulah Shlema, this is all said in this week's parsha in a revealed way. Ki Sisa, so we're going to learn if that means so, then we have to listen to this, because this represents three different levels. One, Ki Sisa, when you lift up the head of the Jewish people, at the beginning of the Torah portion, now let's read over the Torah portion. Well, we'll go over here and then we'll read it over afterwards, okay? At the beginning of the Torah portion denotes the head, the Alef of all matters, the Jewish people, and the Torah. We are the head, both, for which the world was created. Now, in the world, the whole world was created for the Jews and for the Torah. So therefore, we're the head. Excuse me. Therefore, we're the head of the Jewish people. I don't know, should we start over? Anyways. He didn't even say Zaygesund. Gesundheit. Come on. This is Hollywood, guys. Anyways, so we have in here that talks about the head, which is that the Torah was created for us, and the world was created for us in the Torah. It says for the Torah it's called Reishis, beginning. I'll say it like the head, and the Jewish people also is called Reishis in beginning. It's the same thing as head, Rosh. Reishis, beginning, is the same thing as the head, Rosh. It's the same word, it's same letters. And most certainly that the head, the Rosh Bnei Yisrael, the head of the Jewish people, as it's stated, is in a state of Sisa, of lifted up. So in other words, we're talking about that we have to, that at the beginning of everything is we're lifted up, and that the leader, the Nasi Adar, the Mashiach of the generation, is our head. It says they're the head. Maybe to say, but this is the way we understand it. And then he's also lifted up, so everything's lifted up. We're in a high level with Hashem. And now I'm going to go and read what the beginning of this week's parsha. The Rebbe is going to explain that even in the beginning of the parsha, which is talking about the head, this also has into both the other aspects. Like the beginning, the head has everything in it. Everything's included in the head. And he shows this in this week's parsha. And it says, and Hashem spoke, Vayidaber Hashem al Moshe, and Hashem spoke to Moshe, Ki Sisas Rosh B'nei Yisrael, Lifkudeim, V'nafsu Ish Kofer Nafshel Hashem. It says that you should take account of the Jewish people, the heads of the Jews. You could count the Jewish people according to their numbers, and each one should give kofer nafshel Hashem. Each one should give an atonement to Hashem for a soul. But when you count them, and so that there should not be into them any that there will be no plague among them when you count them. In other words, you count them in a way not by people, but you count them of the heads. But basically he's saying, then he says, this next paragraph, he says, everyone passing by to be counted is given this. Now they would count every Jew, and then they would give Malchus, it's a shekel, half a shekel, but shekel was cautious, but about the holy shekel. Where the shekel was 20 gera, half of such a shekel must be given. That it's truma to Hashem. So this is what he's saying about. So with all of this has to do with the idea of the head. Even though they're different levels, they're included in the beginning. And more specific, this itself has the other two aspects of the head. The Alef, which includes Gimmel, Beis and Gimmel, the 2 and 3. The middle and the end. The descent, as the verses continue, and those who have transgressed the commandments. So we say over here, it first says, you should take up you should count, we're explaining that you should lift up the head of the Jewish people, that there should be a kofar nafsho, that there should be an atonement for them. And then after that, it says, for those people transgressing the commandments, and the sentence after that comes and says to atone for your sins. This is how do you get to atone for your sins? That through doing tshuva, we atone for our souls, and how we come to complete redemption. So this is in the first 3 sentences in this week's parsha, one after the other. These concepts and the Rebbe is quoting from. Now we're going to 2, the continuation of the Torah portion regarding the making of the golden calf and the breaking of the tablets, the Beis. Remember, we're talking about how this is revealed in this week's portion. Okay, so then it starts about, finally, we go to the 3rd level. The conclusion of the Torah portion is regarding the second set of tablets, the Gimmel, including the actual culmination, the descent of Moshe from the mountain with the second set of, what was the Geulah, what was the thing? At the end, we were victorious. Moshe, after 120 days, Moshe came down from the mountain with the second set of tablets, and the virtue of it, he had such a special skin of his face shone, and they feared to come close to him. He was so godly, he was so shining forth, that he was so beautiful that people were afraid of him, and they were awestruck by him. He was so holy. Excuse me. Which is similar to the phenomenon that at the end of the 5 books of Moses, Rebbe is explaining, is very interesting. It says at the end of the 5 books of Moses, it says, for all the signs and wonders and for all the awesome greatness that Moshe did before the eyes of the Jewish people. In addition, it says, and I shall make wonders, which was discussed earlier in the portion. So in other words, if you read at the end of the portion how it explains the end of the Chumash and Dvarim, let's go over that also. I think we did this earlier, but it's another share. So it says over there at the end, it really brings it home when I went, for myself at least, when I read into these things. Okay, so everybody, okay. In the end, it says, and there will not rise up a prophet like Moshe in Israel, and that who knew God face to face, and for all the wonders and the signs which God sent him to do in the land of Egypt, and then Moshe to do all these wonders for the Jewish people, to arouse the Pharaoh and all the people, and all the great wonders that he did, that Moshe did, and all the great terrible terror he brought upon the non-Jew, the nations, which Moshe did in the front. He did it in front of the eyes of all of Jewish people. So this has to do with, the Rebbe says, has to do with the meaning of Geulah. Let's see. Let's go over this again. Okay, so this has to do with the Geulah, and let's go further. And likewise, these 3 aspects are alluded to in the 3 festivals close to the end of the Torah portion. The holiday of Passover, the first of the festivals, is in connection with the month of Aviv. It says that the holiday of Pesach, why do we always have to have, like every couple of years, an extra month? Because we learn in the Torah, they learn this from, it says, because the holiday of Pesach has to be in the spring. And if we didn't add a month, didn't make the lunar calendar, the Jewish calendar, equal to the solar calendar, and we would end up having like Pesach in the middle of the winter. So therefore, that's one of the reasons it brings that we add an extra month. And there's a reason. So here it says that, and the first talks about the month of Aviv. Now Aviv, spring, in the alphabet, in the Hebrew alphabet, it starts with an Alef. We're talking about the master of the world, the Alef, the first letter, and it's followed by a Beis. So we have Alef Beis. That the time the revelation of God is in a manner from above to below. The grain begins to ripen. This happens, Hashem by Pesach, Hashem revealed himself. We were like nothing, we were like naked. How Hashem brings down His great light, and the grain, and we see this, and how this says, and the grain begins to ripen. This is due that Hashem is making the sunshine. So Hashem is giving the power from above down. Then we have the holiday of Sukkot, which is the second yearly festival. It's connected to the beginning of the harvesting of the wheat. This is after already we started to bring in the fruits of the field. We're not bringing everything, but we started to bring in the wheat. And this is the service starting from below, ascending to up. That we are harvesting and that we are growing and we're bringing the fruits of our labor. And when does the final fruits of our labor come? And the holiday of the gathering, which is in Sukkot, of the crops upon the new year. And at that time you shall gather your wheat from the field to the house. And at the onset of the new year, the third yearly festival connected with the gathering together and the perfection of all services. So the final festival is to bring everything together, bring everything that we've done, all the work we've done through the whole summer, and now all the fruits have come to their fruition, to bring them all in. And which is the ultimate, as it says, so the third yearly festival is connected to the gathering together and the perfection of all the service, which is ultimate perfection, the true and complete redemption. That's when there will be the gathering together of all the Jewish people. The verse says, indeed, I shall gather them, says Hashem, as well as the gathering in of all the sparks of the holiness that were dispersed throughout the entire world. So this is very important. So this shows, and it's a very, very clear thing what the Rebbe says here. Now, we're mamish in times of redemption, because we see that simply of all the Jews coming back to the Holy Land, the Jews coming back, it's an ingathering of Jews, and also spiritually we see the Jews are coming back throughout the world, as we see with the growth of Yiddishkeit, the Chabad houses, and other Yiddishkeit throughout the world. And people are giving classes, millions of people are listening. It's very special. It's an ingathering. We're all coming together to serve Hashem. Number 10. Based on the above, we also understand the innovation of the shining face of Moshe, which was attained through the second set of tablets, which is similar to the virtue of the Gimmel, which is achieved specifically through the service of the Beis, namely the sin of the golden calf and the breaking of the tablets. So the Rebbe is saying that this Moshe Rabbeinu's shining, this came dafka, that his new revelation of godliness that Moshe Rabbeinu had was more of a walking, revealed level of godliness. This came dafka through the second tablets, and this is the inyan of Geulah. This shows there the inyan of Geulah. It's when you see a Jew, the Rebbe, and you see somebody with a shiny face, when people, as we'll talk maybe later, people saw certain very amazing things when he looked into the Rebbe. This is like the inyan of seeing Geulah. This is dafka with that. This dafka comes through the aboda that we do this in this world. Then rezoka to the second tablets, which is similar to the virtue of the Gimmel, which is received specifically through the service of the Beis, the sin of the golden calf, and the breaking of the tablets. So therefore, because of that, we had to work and do tshuva and make the world specific. That specifically, the second set of tablets which were given because of the descent below to accomplish the service of the refining the world. That's why the phenomenon brought about through the second set of tablets. This is accomplished. The revelation of the Torah's hidden wisdom, double for salvation. The deepest essence of the wisdom, higher than revealed wisdom of the first tablets. That's to happen in the second tablets. We got much, much deeper understanding, much more deeper into everything. And therefore, through this, Moshe, the receiver of the tablets, appreciated the phenomenon of the skin of his face shined, similar to the phenomenon of the wisdom of a person illuminates his face, which is likewise an essential light that transcends vestment, and that it's a light that's above the world. That he's shining with a godly light that doesn't become enclosed. It's beyond becoming enclosed. And we're talking about the tablets, meaning Geulah. There's not talking directly here, but actually today is actually Chav Zayin Adar. When the Rebbe had a stroke. There's Chav Zayin Adar Alef, but Chav Zayin Adar. And there's a story This has to do with the Rebbe, and especially the tablets. It brought to mind the story. There's a famous story that there was a young little boy, 4 or 5 years old. He was going with his father those times, a couple hundred years ago, to Russia, to the small town called Lubavitch, where the Lubavitcher Rebbe was. This was the fourth Lubavitcher Rebbe, Rebbe Rashab. The fifth Lubavitcher Rebbe. And they're walking. They used to take horses and walk a lot, and it was very long. And the little kid asked his father. He says, "Father," he says, "what is Lubavitch?" The little kid doesn't know. So his father tells him. He says, "Lubavitch is the holy city of Yerushalayim, Jerusalem. And as you get closer to the Rebbe in the Rebbe's general courtyard, that's the holy temple. And until you get to the Rebbe's room, there's different levels, and you start to talk about the levels in the temple. The holiest of holiest, you reach the holiest of holiest, that's the Rebbe's room. And the Rebbe himself, he says, are the luchos. And this is very interesting, because the luchos over here, the luchos is what we're talking about here. These are the ones that has the special powers. But the power from the luchos that the Rebbe, that the Moshe Rabbeinu, was able to shine in a revealed way to everybody, that everybody could see, here's a holy man. So this is explaining how special the tablets are. And it's interesting that the Rebbe talks about this. This is one of the last sequels the Rebbe talks about. And it's interesting also that the Rebbe has revealed to us things that nobody ever revealed to us. It's just like this. Anyways, let's go further. On the other hand, since the virtue of the second set of tablets comes out specifically through the descent and the vestment in the physical world, Beis Bereshis, you shall engrave on the stones, in other words, from our physical world, not as the first tablets of work of Hashem's hands. The stones were made by man, including the transformation of the even undesirable matters, even the bad things. Therefore, his shining face caused that they feared to approach him. That why were they afraid to approach him? He was godly. And therefore he put a cover on her face in order to hide the openly manifestation of godliness of the Torah, so that they may be able so that they may be the vestment of this godliness in the refinement of the world. And what I think he's saying over here is that the reason, explains later, that the reason for the cover of his eyes was that there was so much godliness that when people were working in the world, he had to bring it down, he had to cover over it so it wouldn't be so strong, so that when people want to do their daily work, they could take this influence, of this high influence, and they can bring it down into them and service God in their daily lives. The concealment of the face cover is, however, not relevant to the Jewish people in essence. For Hashem spoke to them face to face, without any concealment at all. And therefore, when Moshe spoke to the Jewish people what he was commanded, he removed the face cover. And the Jewish people saw the face of Moshe, that the face of Moshe shined. If you read in the Chumash, I never understood it until I was going through the Sikha, that when Moshe Rabbeinu was telling Torah, the Jews were on the same level. We were all revealed. That's what the Rebbe said. Moshe was talking God and Torah, that everybody was one. They're all sharing this high level of godliness, and was able to receive this level of Geulah from Moshe Rabbeinu, redemption. And only when Moshe and the Jewish people have a relation to the world in order to accomplish the refinement of it through the vestment. So what does it mean? That only that when we have to be involved in the world and we have to become invested and must have to come in clothed in the world and part of the world, then Moshe Rabbeinu put the face cover back on, so that he may receive the revelation and not be nullified by it. Meaning that the intention of the face cover is not concealment, rather the revelation should be accepted in the world. For when the world, from its own perspective, is truly refined, it will be able to receive the manifestation of this revelation without it being concealed. So the Rebbe is explaining, and this is a very important thing, that it's in Beis throughout Chassidus, that the whole inyan of Mashiach is that we should receive this shining light from Moshe, this shining essence, and that the whole world should be able to live and to totally one with Hashem. And that will happen and that's going to happen anyway. That's where we're at now. The Rebbe says, as the Rebbe will explain, that's where we're at now. We're ready. We've done the work. We've refined everything. This a Jew accomplishes through a service of refining the world, thereby achieving the phenomena that also he finds himself in the world, he can receive the revelation of his face shined, as will reach perfection in the true and complete redemption Gimmel. Your master shall not, then the future it says, your master shall not be concealed anymore, and your eyes shall behold your masters, and we will see God. And he won't be referring to the Jewish people even when they find themselves in the world and have relationship to it, to the extent that likewise it will also be revealed in the world itself. The glory of Hashem shall be revealed in all flesh, and all flesh as one shall see it. And a stone from this in the future, when the Mashiach comes, it says everything will see godliness. Not only your eyes, but your flesh. It's not because understand your eyes, but your flesh. Everything will see godliness. And the stones, it says, will shout out. You know, that like if we heard them now, we're walking on the stones from the wall, and they'd see us. They're saying, "Why aren't you doing God's will, Torah and Mitzvahs?" Namely, the revelation of the creator in the creation. So the Rebbe revealed in everything. So this is the level that we can have now to a large extent. We will explain, Mitzvah Shem. From these three aspects in the Torah, Parshas Ki Sisa, we have a lesson in service of man at all times, as mentioned above. The being that it is the Torah portion that we read from this Torah scroll once a year. Hence, we have a lesson from it for the entire year. And mostly certain presently on Shabbos, the Torah portion of Sisa itself, we read it, we must live with it the entire Torah portion. Rebbe says over there that we said earlier that each portion is read once a year. So therefore, when it's read, it has something special that the rest of the Torah doesn't have in it. And it gives that one day a year, this one time, gives power to the whole year in this aspect. It's a very, you need to think a little bit in this, very, very deep. As a Jew was given the power to accept any and truly everything, from the beginning to the end. And all that is between, from Alef to Tav, so we have the power to accomplish truly everything we can do, from A to Z, and in general, as they are divided into the three aspects alluded to the first three letters, Alef, Beis, and Geulah. So what are we talking about first, as we see that all these three aspects in one daily service. Immediately upon awaking from a sleep, one becomes a new creation. He says, Modi ani lefanecha, I am thankful to you, Hashem, to you, Shem, to you, for returning me my soul, acknowledging your kindness. I am before you for returning me to me my soul. And we're thanking Hashem. The Alef, the foundation, the beginning of the service of the Jew, it's a submission to Hashem. The Alef of Anochi, I am. So Alef, the first word in the Ten Commandments, Anochi Hashem Elokecha, I'm the Lord your God. The words Anochi. So it has the level of the Alef. The Alef is the first letter of the alphabet. So that goes on that a Jew is that's his service of a Jew is to Alef, to give himself totally over to God. To the extent as his entire existence is Alef of Ani, but the Alef of Ani is in a state of acknowledgement before you, since the Ani of a Jew, even when he's in this physical world, he is one with the Ani and the Anochi. In other words, of above. So Ani, when we say I in Hebrew, we can say in two ways. Anochi, which it says in the first word in the Ten Commandments, that goes on Hashem. Anochi, the essence of God, I. And when you say Ani in general, by me, it means me, I. So he says, the Rebbe is saying the Alef of both of Ani and Anochi, they're joined together. The Jew is the Ani, we're the created, we're the lower level, the Ani, and the Anochi is Hashem. But it says that we're one with Hashem, of the Anochi of above. The Jewish people and Hashem are truly one. This is alluded in the shape of the letter Aleph. This is very beautiful. So the Aleph, I don't know where we, if I have something I can show you with an Aleph in it. Yeah, I think so. Hope it's big enough. So here, I hope you can see the first letter. Maybe you can zoom in again. I'm trying to. So here we have in the Aleph. Hope we can see it. The Aleph is right here. So the Aleph has a Yud and a line connecting it. So this Yud represents God. This Yud represents the Jew. The line connects it is what connects us to. This is what we're going to be talking about. I just want you to take a look at it, and we'll see it inside. So remember, Aleph represents the Anochi, the one of Hashem, of the unity, the first, and also the one, the Ani of the Jew, how we're above, that we're all one, truly one. It's also, it's hinted to, it's pointed to in the shape of the letter Aleph. You have the Yud, which is from below, like we said before, and and as alluded to in the shape of the Yud, the Jew below, and the Yud of Hashem above, and the line that connects the two. So this shows that the idea of the Jews and Hashem, that we're mamish one. This is Aleph. This is the first letter of the alphabet. Aleph base, the Aleph base. As known that the simplicity of a Jew is one with the simplicity of the essence of Hashem. And a Jew is simply, he's a Jew. And Hashem, he's simple Hashem. God is just God. It's simply, God is God. A Jew's a Jew. The simple meaning of a Jew. We're mamish, we're one. The simple Jew, the simple, what a Jew is and what Hashem is, we're one. This is amazing stuff. And the concept of simplicity is expressed in clearly clearly manifest manner in the recitation when we say Modani. The concept that we're thinking and we're getting involved in of acknowledging the essence of Hashem that transcends the entire concept of descriptions of Hashem. We're saying Modani, we're acknowledging that Hashem is everything. And that Hashem, there's even no name for Hashem. This is beyond everything. Where therefore the Jewish custom is that every single Jew, even a very small child, says Modani. Because it's the essence, it has to do with the essence of us. It has the essence of Hashem. It's not have to do with different levels. Furthermore, even the word moda, acknowledgement, is secondary to the Aleph. We say ani. We say moda, then we say ani. What's it mean? That the main thing here is seemingly that the word ani, I have to go over this. Anyway, let's go over this. But got this before. Furthermore, even the word moda, acknowledgement, is secondary to the ani. Since the main thing here is seemingly the word ani, it says moda ani, for immediately upon wakening from sleep, there's first and foremost the entity of the person. When a person wakes up, is of 248 limbs and 365 sinews, and only afterwards, the ani does an action. First, he wakes up, and then he starts to do something, beginning with the recitation of the action of moda, acknowledging before you. I acknowledge before you, and notwithstanding this, we say moda ani, and not I moda, since the ani of a Jew is so connected to Hashem that although through the perspective of time, although from the perspective of time, first there is the person ani, nevertheless ani is so greatly submitted to Hashem to the extent that instantly upon waking up, it is in a state of acknowledging before you. In other words, the Rebbe is saying, we'll go over this again, it's saying it doesn't say ani moda. That means I am me and I'm giving thanks. I'm acknowledging Hashem is everything. Ani moda. What's the timing? What time? What time is it? We're going to be another maybe 5 minutes beyond that. We have to finish up to the next host. Anyways, so it says ani moda. So what's it mean, ani moda? It means that I'm thanking Hashem. But the Rebbe says we're in such a level here that we're totally one with God, that when we wake up, we're just already one with God. We don't even exist, and we're just thanking Hashem. The existence of a Jew, let's look inside again. Furthermore, even though the word moda, to acknowledge, is secondary to the Aleph, ani, since the main thing here is seemingly that the word ani, I, for immediately upon waking up from sleep, there's first and foremost the entity of the person. The person has his 248 limbs and 365 sinews. And only after the ani does an action begin, that he starts to do something, beginning with recitation of the action of moda ani, of moda, acknowledge him before you. And notwithstanding, this is, we say moda ani, I give, moda, give thanks I, and not I give thanks, ani moda. Since ani of a Jew is so connected with Hashem, this is a beautiful thing, that although from the perspective of time, first there is a person ani, nevertheless, the ani is so greatly submitted to Hashem to the extent that instantly upon waking up, he's in a state of acknowledging before you. He's so nullified, even when he wakes up, this is a Jew. This is where we are. We're given over to God in our essence and who we are, even before as soon as we open our eyes. Afterwards comes the morning blessings and the morning prayers from the synagogue to the study hall, the general Aleph in the service of the day. So first we go daven, then we learn. Afterward comes the Beis and the daily service of the Jew. A person goes out to accomplish, to work until the evening. He goes out from the synagogue to the study hall into the world. The Beis, the Bereshis bara, in the beginning he created, to carry out the service of the entire day. He's to act in the world and accept the earthly matters. And you do what you do in business is done according to God. Namely, that his vestment and occupation, what he's involved with the worldly matters in a manner that he does his business faithfully. He's an honest, good, honest Jew, or an honest person. Following, so this is all part of the Beis. You're working in the world. Following this, at the conclusion of the day, there's the Gimmel, the completion, the culmination of the service of the day, when he makes an accounting of all his matters and actions throughout the day, and in general. He does this in the evening prayer, which concludes when the conclusion says, for the Aksadikim Yodel Shmecha, for the righteous will praise your name. Thanks to Hashem, similar to Modani in the morning, we're thanking God. However, this is as a completion of the service of the day. And then you say Shema. What happens after that? You say Shema at night. We say Shema at night, the Shema recitation upon going to sleep. And when he gives himself completely over, at that time he gives himself completely over to Hashem. We say at the end of Shema, that I entrust my total soul, I entrust my soul to you. And likewise, there are these three aspects in the general service of the Jew during the years of his life. For the Rebbe puts on, for good long days and years. The beginning of the service, the middle of the service, including the completeness of the service. And most certainly in our generation, the last generation exile, and the first generation redemption, after we already have the true ultimate immense amount of deeds and services that we've done throughout these thousands of years of the Jewish people through the generations and years. Before this, that we've done this all so much work. Now all we have to have, now we've already completed the last refinements. This is the things that nobody but the Rebbe says that we worked in the world and done everything. Everything's done. The world is refined. Hence now the emphasis is mainly and first and foremost on the true perfection of service to bring the Gimmel, the Geulah, and the true complete redemption, literally, actually. In other words, since we've done everything, the main thing is just to reveal the Gimmel. Because we've done the Beis. Now the time is to reveal the Gimmel. Okay, we gotta go now. Thank you everybody. Mitzvah Hashem, we'll go farther tomorrow. And unfortunately, we didn't make it to the Beis HaMikdash yet, but hopefully we'll be finishing this year in the Beis HaMikdash very soon. Sei gesund.